Okay, so now we just start off with the very first Winnipeg Muna. And this was something I can't really speak much of because I wasn't there. But here's the thing. If you go on our website, you'll probably see more pictures than what's on the slide. But that's just to show you, to illustrate to you that this has been going on for quite a while and with Rotary support all this time. And of course, we have one of our elder statesmen, Dr. Lloyd Axworthy, who has a comment about that and how that has impacted him. And of course, along the way, the leaders of tomorrow that have attended Muna can attest to how that's really helped them become better participants, but also become better at other facets of their lives, using those transferable skills from negotiation, from teamwork, collaboration. So this is where it began. And then now we'll just shift our focus to 2019. And that was pre-COVID, of course. And we had about 77 delegations, and they weren't just limited to Winnipeg, all around Manitoba. And of course, we had a few delegations from the States. And there are a lot more photos on the website as well. We try to make sure that they're easily accessible so that you can see past events. And it's also helpful for delegations in the future when we do return back to hopefully some form of normal, when we can have something like this in person, where you can see just how the process plays out through the photos. And 2021 was the first time for me taking part as a delegate. I was part of, there were two delegations from my school, Rivers Collegiate, and to my knowledge, it was the first time that our school actually sent delegations to Muna, or at least the teachers that I spoke to couldn't remember the last time we did. So that's really a testament to using Zoom, using any virtual format to make the most of the opportunity for the school year. Because a lot of us, we had to shift from in-person learning to staying at home. And during this time, we were at home for most of the year. So trying to make the most of that when we had no field trips, or for example, we couldn't go to the legislature to learn more about civic politics, this was the perfect place for us to gain that exposure and also to meet other students, because we didn't have that opportunity we otherwise would have had during the year. And so we had about 51 delegations, so just over 100 students that took part, and all over the province again, as well as from the United States. And we also had a team from BC. And this right here is just a screenshot of one of the videos that we made just to promote Muna being in its virtual format. And it's a very cheesy video, but if you watch about 11:30, I think is the duration of it, 11 minutes, 30 seconds, it'll just give you an overview of the General Assembly, the opening speeches, and then you'll find that on the website actually. And I'll just go over the resolutions that we talked about on COVID-19 and resolution, something relating to cybersecurity. And overall, these resolutions, they're not meant to be something that everyone would agree upon or to nod their heads on every single thing that comes out of it. And it's also something where you voice your disagreements, but also try to be diplomatic and trying to make allies along the way, just as you would at the actual United Nations, respecting that process, but also recognizing that it's a dynamic institution, and these processes and the procedures is something that you respect and you learn, but also you make use of, trying to emulate that. So it was quite enjoyable, actually. It's quite different than just learning about the UN and not taking part in its activities. So trying to emulate that, whether in person or online, is something that's really helpful for us as delegates, as students trying to learn how this institution works and why it matters. And then in 2022, this year, we had 60 delegations, again, from all over. And for us, this was the first time that youth could take part in the organizing committee. And using our experience as participants in 2021, we could really apply and see what worked and what didn't. So for one, by creating that video, when we took part in 2021, we had no idea what to expect. We had no clue how we could perhaps communicate with each other using Zoom, when otherwise we could lobby. It was much easier to lobby when you were in person. And making use of those features and also using our experience to make 2022 a much better experience for new delegates and returning delegates from last year. So it was quite enjoyable. And personally for me, being on the organizing committee, I think I've gained a newfound appreciation for the amount of work and effort that goes into organizing Muna, being on that committee to see the process inside and out has been really enlightening. And I think a lot of work goes into it, and it's a truly memorable experience because of that, because of the collaboration that we've had along the way. And now this is just a map showing you where we've had delegates from. So in green are the returning delegates that we've seen in the past. And in orange, that would be St. Mary's Academy. They sent a delegation this year. Did not send any delegations for at least 3 years. So we consider them new for the purpose of this map. And what's amazing is that, yes, we had 15 schools, but some of them could send 1, 2, many of them sent 4 delegations. So it's really amazing to see how we could represent a diversity of students and assign them these countries, and to see how that plays out with each other. And then zooming out in the next map, we see that we've also had many schools from Saskatchewan. And of course, we had our 2 delegations from the United States, and we also had 1 from BC. So 28 schools in all, and about 60 delegations joined us from MENA 2022. And then lastly, for my section, I'll just touch briefly on the awards. So each year we give out the Bert Friesen Award for the best prepared delegation. And this year that was awarded to the school in Kenora. And for the Rice Khan Award for the most diplomatic delegation, that was awarded to a delegation from Fort Richmond. And Divya, who will be speaking, she was the person and her partner who was awarded the Rice Khan Award for most diplomatic. So essentially how the process goes is that at the end of MENA, we'll get each participating delegation to vote for who would be most deserving of these awards. So going back to lobbying, going back to making those connections in those 2 days is really important, because you want to get yourself out there and recognized for the hard work that goes into preparing for MENA.
Thank you, Avinash. As Avinash also mentioned, since UN resolutions aren't legally binding, the UN General Assembly simply creates a place for nations to come together and adopt resolutions mostly by consensus. But that is without taking a vote. And this is our approach when organizing MENA, to create an opportunity that generates a culture of consensus building among the future leaders. In the recent year, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, and another one. Yeah, thank you. And as we in recent years in MENA, we have had 2 roles, delegations and leadership roles. When I first joined MENA in 2021 as a delegate, I was a bit skeptical in the beginning, as I wasn't sure how it could actually benefit me as a person. But throughout the event, I was able to gain valuable experiences. And as a delegate, I was absolutely enjoying each and every part of it, from writing speeches to researching issues, debating, consensus building, and voicing the country I was representing. And while doing this, I expanded on my leadership skills and discovered my personal interests. Taking part in MENA expanded my vision of the world, and I was able to better understand my personal and career goals. This year, as a member of the MENA organizing committee, I had the honor to be the themes and resolutions coordinator. As a student myself, my main goal was to reflect student concerns on global issues through the theme and the 2 resolutions. And while doing this, I had the privilege to meet and work with senior members who played important roles in helping me understand my tasks, and familiarized me with ways of decision making in the committee. And After much deliberation on possible resolutions for this year between both senior and student members, we decided on 2 resolutions that could best satisfy MUNA's vision. Our first resolution was a framework for regulating social networking companies regarding data storage, usage, transparency, and terms of use to safeguard democracy. As a generation who has to adapt to living in the age of data, the goal was to make participants think about psychological impacts, human rights issues, and possible threats to democracy that may be caused due to the irresponsible actions of social networking companies. On the screen, you can see selected operative paragraphs that participants reached consensus on during the event. Students were able to recognize issues such as cultural preservation, child safety, election integrity, democracy, and ethics behind data transparency while coming up with solutions to approach them. Our second resolution this year was building a post-COVID-19 circular world economy for mitigating and enhancing resilience to future climate change. This resolution tackled another important issue for students, global warming. But this time we approached it through the idea of building a circular world economy in a post-COVID-19 era. And we did this through 3 main components of circular world economy, which are waste reduction, responsible consumption and production, and regenerating future. On the next slide, we can see some other selected statements from this year's operative paragraphs. As expected, participants debated heavily on these topics, while realizing the importance of international cooperation. They were able to drive solutions only when they prioritized collective goals for preserving human habitat before themselves. As we move forward to the next year, I am very grateful to co-chair the MUNA organizing committee alongside with Avinash and collaborate with our amazing members to create an even more lasting learning experience for the participants. I believe that with their supports, we can address the concerns and problems that our generation faces today more efficiently. And together we can take steps towards building a more peaceful, greener, and a more humane world. Passing on to you, Divya.
Thank you very much, Farya and Avinash, for walking us through that context. And we know the organizing committee is in good hands in your co-chairmanship for this coming next season. So over to you, Divya, our student delegate from this year and organizing committee member and award winner. Yeah, I think, and Divya is actually taking part from school right now, I guess just during the lunch hour, and you're probably just trying to get your mic off of mute and then you can start.
Hi, hello everyone, good afternoon. Just before I get started, I would like to say that I apologize for any sort of interruption. As Darren said, I am going in for school. The Wi-Fi isn't the greatest here, as well as there's just some background. I'll try to do the best as I can.
We've lost your audio, Divya. Oh, we might have lost Divya completely. Is that the case, Ellie, from the, Did she drop off the participant list?
I think she has, Darren.
I think she's come back now. When she gets back, hi Divya. You might want to just maybe turn your video off, and then that one might help your connection.
Sounds good. First of all, I'm not sure how much everyone heard, but good afternoon. So much for taking the time to come here today, listen to our experiences. This year I had the great honor of being part of the organizing committee, the first ever time that students have been involved, and be a delegate, participate in the actual process of MUNA. This was my second year being a part of the Model United Nations, the 64th session, of course. And representing all the students there as the president was absolutely incredible. All these roles have enhanced my leadership in some way, and that's what's so special about MUNA. And I've noticed that in both of the years that it's been virtual. I've never had the opportunity to be there in person, but fingers crossed, after the feedback that we got from so many students, delegates, teachers, we will be having it in person. So that's definitely something to be excited about. In terms of my, once again, personal experience being at MUNA, this year's organizing committee was absolutely phenomenal. Although, you know, there were some people that had technical issues, cough, Jerry. We did so many great things. We were able to accomplish an online MUNA system. Once again, something that's very new to us, but also offered so many opportunities to connect. And that's what's, once again, one of the mandates of MUNA. And it also enabled students who otherwise maybe wouldn't be able to join us, or as Avinash talked about, to participate in this democratic process and learn about consensus, learn about allyship, and building connections. And every single year I make new friends and I stay in touch with them. And last year I got in touch with the president of Vincent Massey, and she's at the University of Manitoba now, and we've talked several times. So once again, MUNA not just only helps you during the process, but even after the processes, because you get to build so many connections. And of course, the MUNA organizing committee in its entirety is incredibly special, and I'm so excited to be a part of it next year. And it'll be very primarily youth-led, but once again, we get to learn so much from Darren, Jerry, Ellie, Jane, Donna, Mark, and so many others, just to name a few. And it's, once again, an absolutely incredible experience. It can't be replicated because there's no other place where student leadership has been so profound, and being able to manage so many different things and having someone to guide you through the process is, once again, incredibly special. Okay. As I anticipated, there was a interruption. But other than that, I am once again incredibly grateful to be a part of the process. Rotary has always been such an incredible place to form connections. I've also been a part of the RILA, the Adventures in Citizenship program, and MUNA, once again, was another avenue that I'll be taking next year. So I'm very thankful for all of the supports that you are able to offer, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you. And thank you so much for being here today and listening to our experiences.
Thank you very much, Divya, and thank you for your contributions both on the floor of MUNA this year and in the background, getting it all organized, and looking forward to your involvement in the organizing committee next year as you pursue your university studies. Very excited to have our youth members on the organizing committee, the co-chairmanship of Farya and Avinash and Divya, with all the multiple roles you'll be playing, including procurement. And we now have pleased to say we have 6 new students, 6 additional students joining us from this current year's Model UN that have expressed interest in the organizing committee. So we get to expand our capacity to help deliver an event, and which will be needed as we try to go face-to-face next year. So just to end things off, I want to pass the floor over to Jerry Story to just to kind of with some concluding thoughts, and then I guess we can take a few questions if time permitting.
Hi, Darren. Hi, everyone. I think probably the sequence should probably be, we could take some questions right now. We have a few minutes. So if folks have questions that for any of our participating student co-chairs, next year's chairs, this is the time to do it. So anybody have any questions?
I'll watch the floor for raising hands or just in the chat space.
Glenn Torgerson has his hand up.
Yes, Glenn, go ahead.
I just wondered if the experience of virtual meetings will ever be coordinated with the in-person meetings. I'm thinking of the team that came with you from BC this year. The cost of transportation could be rather high, but virtually they could join in. So just a question.
Well, I think all of our delegates will probably have their own views, but the committee has discussed this several times. And obviously there are benefits to both. I mean, I think on average, the students themselves prefer in face-to-face meetings. They would like to meet each other and be able to share that experience together. But it's also true that we have been able to recruit delegates from other parts of the country and some of the more remote parts of the country who probably wouldn't be able to attend if we didn't have part of the session virtual. So that's going to be an ongoing discussion. But for next year, I think the decision has been made. We're going to try to return to a face-to-face event because I think that's generally what the delegates want. I don't know whether one of the Farya or Avinash want to comment there at all.
Yeah, it'd be good for Avinash and Farya to comment too, because the hybrid model offering some opportunities for teams that can't afford the in-person participation, and looking at that option going forward. So yeah, Avinash, Farya.
I have just a quick comment, and I also want to reiterate what Divya has already said about Rotary being there and making that connection, being that bridge for you to attend these events. And something like MUNA being hosted by Rotary itself, it's like a forum for us to make connections. But if you're not there in the first place, what connections are you going to make? Well, I hope that one of the themes that we have for our organizing committee is accessibility. And that's because we have identified at least a trend that the farther away you are from MUNA, the harder it is. I mean, that's just a fact. It's harder for you to come to drive hours to attend MUNA in person if you're out of the city. And we're thinking of having a hybrid event, at least so to the extent that we can address the accessibility issues for those that are not able to make it or find it very difficult to make it. And going back to that map that I shared earlier, it's that we've had delegates from outside the province as well. And we also have to consider how would that affect the overall process if we had something virtual alongside in person. So that's something for further discussion, but we want to address the accessibility issue. Personally, I think there's been a systemic exclusion of youth, whatever their background or socioeconomic status, with these sort of events. And if we address it by having some sort of hybrid event, I think that would be a good path forward. That's just something we have to discuss further, but accessibility is something we need to address and be proactive in that approach.
Thanks, Avinash. Farya